you get to the point where you're almost like, yeah, I do want to get in a fist fight, but I can't because I'm a 41-year-old mom and I can't go to jail right now.
Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I am here today with Amanda Shires. She's a singer and songwriter. She has a new record out with Bobbie Nelson. She's a founder of the Highwomen, the much better half of Jason Isbell, a fiddler extraordinaire. She has a New Yorker profile about some outlaw progressive country songwriters, including Amanda, that's out recently. And she's coming at us from the barn of internal wondering. Amanda Shires, this is a dream come true. Thank you for doing this with us.
The dreams are all on this side of the microphone.
I'm jealous. I want to just rent out that barn for my next book and like just spend a week in the barn of internal wondering while you're on tour or something.
That'd be great. You don't even have to rent it. You could just do it.
All right. People on the YouTube can see it in the background. It's gorgeous. Okay. For people who don't know you, I just want to start with your origin story. Your teenage Amanda, as best as I can tell, was part of the Texas Playboys, the Bob Wills group. You like jumped on stage with Billy Joe Shaver at some point. Like what gave teenage Amanda this kind of confidence to become a fiddler out on the road with these epic Texas legends so early in life? How did this come to pass?
Well, I got the fiddle. I didn't even know really much about it, and my dad got it for me. And then my mom entered me into school orchestra and lessons. But I think, as cheesy or whatever it may sound, I get all of my gumption, I think, from my mom, just watching her work as a single mom and just make stuff happen my whole life. Take us from trailers to Section 8 housing to rental houses to just working hard and trying hard and still taking all the risks and then also not backing down.
And so what then, given that background, what was like, how did you get access to, these kind of country legends and, sort of what was the kind of beginnings of your kind of love of music and feeling that you could kind of get out there and do that?
I mean, I wonder too sometimes about how and why opportunities present themselves. And I think about that a lot. And I think about trying to understand, trying to go back and think about myself that young is hard because, we didn't do a lot of thinking about intentions and what our goals were and, none of this stuff really. But it happened organically and I wouldn't call it serendipity because there's a lot of things that have to take place for that to even work. But anyway, I think it's because I was truly into the music. I played orchestra. I was getting bored, and I owe some of it to a great teacher, my violin private teacher that I got from, getting grants and scholarships, saw that I was getting bored and introduced me to a project that he was working on, which was transcribing early pre-Bob Wills fiddle tunes from a guy named Frankie McQuarter who was in the Texas Playboys. And Frankie McQuarter learned from the first recorded fiddle player, Eck Robertson. So it's truly an oral tradition. And my teacher, Lanny Field, was going and learning these songs and writing them out in finale for those folks that read music and stuff like that. But he showed me a tune, a Bob Wills tune called Spanish Two-Step. And I was in from there. And I think I got in the car, my mom's car, after the lesson and said, I'm a fiddle player now. And she was like, you can play fiddle, but you're going to still do your orchestra. And I was like, damn. So I had to do both. And what I liked about fiddle is that I got to improvise, and having had no complete frontal lobe development or any kind of vocabulary for expressing my feelings, improvisation ruled my life for a minute. That's what I wanted to do. And I knew you could do it in swing. All while at the same time maintaining my knowledge of music because I love it so much, in the popular culture, because you can't just go to school and get beat up with your fiddle and also not know that Mia has a song right now that's really good, or the thong song is out. You will definitely get in worse trouble.
So you could fiddle the thong song? You learned how to do that?
I can do it all. I could play Bow Down, the West Side Connection song on my fiddle.
Okay, maybe we'll have to do that in the post game. I wish I'm jealous. I had that. I don't think I had your talent, so maybe that was one of my limitations. But I also didn't have that teacher. I just kind of remember being in jazz band and being given these the standards to play on my little gay trumpet, and I just and eventually I was just like, nah, this isn't fun. I'm gonna go hang out with my friends instead. So I'm jealous.
Did you know that Jason's first instrument was trumpet and he still plays it?
I did not know that. He never breaks it out on tour?
No, he brought it out on his new record, but you can, when you do come here to write, you could play our little gay trumpets.
Okay, I'm sure he's much better. I gave up on it post braces. I want to fast forward at the end. I want to dork out about you and Jason's music, but for some of the folks who maybe aren't as familiar, I kind of want to broaden it out. And so just fast forward through. You have a brilliant career, a couple albums I really love, To the Sunset, Take It Like a Man. But you did this all women supergroup called the Highwomen. And I think folks have probably heard of some of your co-authors on that, co-performers, Maren Morris, Brandi Carlile, Natalie Hemby. Talk about like what the origin of was that, and like why did you decide to start the Highwomen, and how kind of how does that connect with your story?
In 2016, my daughter was about 9 months old or so, and I was leaving to go on tour, and I was still touring in a van, and dealing with, going away and coming back and what am I doing and all that. And on that trip in 2016, all of my, the vans don't have Bluetooth, so my aux cables broke, and so I was forced to listen to the radio, and there was only 2 choices, sports ball or top 40 country when I was driving through the mountains. And I just started noticing that in 22 songs, I saved everything I wrote while in the van too, while I was taking notes. There was not a voice that I heard that sounded like it resonated with me or my own story. And then I called the radio station, was asking, and then got into all kinds of circle talk and snake eating its own tail stuff. Well, you've got to request one on Facebook, and I was like, how do I know who to request if I don't know one to request? And then they're like, we'll do our best. And then, they played an old Carrie Underwood song, and then a song by a group that had a couple of women in it, and that was in 50 songs. And then I started thinking, and this I started doing as this whole trip progressed, and I was just shocked, not shocked, I was like, wow, how come I never noticed this before? And then driving more, I was like, well, that's not really my lane. I do this thing that I do, Amanda Shires music. It's different. It's, it's dark. And so I said, well,
a little rock and rolly.
Yeah, a little rock and roll. Yeah. Rock and roll. And I was like, well, that's fine. And I was like, at the same time thinking that, Mercy is going around humming and playing a kazoo and not brilliant at either one. I was thinking, well, if Mercy went into music, she, I love the life. There's, made a lot of good friends and all that. What would be the worst? And usually you hear what would be the worst. It would be folks say that your kids will do the opposite of what you do. And so in that moment, I was like, oh, God, she's going to go into top 40 country. That'll be the worst. She'll be a lone island. She's going to get nowhere. What are we going to do? Thinking on it, I thought, this is over a couple weeks. I was like, I am going to make a band called the Highwomen because Waylon Jennings was fucking cool. And, I thought on it for a while, and I made notes because I'm a non-linear kind of presenter with ideas. It's not my strong suit. But took a lot of notes, and then finally got the nerve to tell Dave Cobb that I had this idea, and it was the Highwomen, and I told him like kind of my idea for it, and luckily he didn't kill my dream in that instant. He said, this is a great idea. You should meet Brandi Carlile. Then we get going and meet Brandi Carlile. I meet Natalie Hemby. We bring Maren on board, and we form the band, make the record, and I think it was like 2018 we put the record out.
Yeah, and it was a huge success, and we're going to play a little bit of the Highwomen for people that haven't heard it, want to listen to it. But so that's good, but it still isn't quite top 40 pop country, especially when you talk.
We did hit number 1, so I got a tattoo.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's great.
On iTunes and stuff.
I only got to number 2 on the New York Times list. That's not quite tattoo worthy. I don't have
That's
any tattoo.
amazing.
I don't have any tattoos, so I don't know. Number 2 would be a little kind of a sad tattoo. You earned that. You earned that number 1
No,
heart.
anytime you're on the NYT, you're set for. You can just go ahead and mark it, make a tick, and then you can keep adding ticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. A little tick tattoo. That's something to think about. But the pop country stuff, if possible, has only gotten worse since you acknowledged that problem.
You were so right. It started out 13% representation back when I was thinking about it, and
Yeah.
today, on some months, it's as good as 15, sometimes 16, and sometimes regresses as far back as 11%.
Yeah, and so we've had recently the big Jason Aldean controversy, one of our pop country favorites, who has a "Try That in a Small Town" song out there that kind of went into my political world. Everybody has to have a take on it. The governor of Iowa was tweeting about it, and things of this nature. What was your kind of thought on that? I'd just like to kind of put a quarter in the machine and see what you.
It's a shitty song. It's just terrible. Like, just listening to it, even if you're not thinking about politics as a human. I mean, it doesn't even sound like when I turn it on, it's not a bop.
No, it's not a bop. That's your
Like,
critique.
firstly, it's not a good song. Secondly, like, it trumps this. The subject matter is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's bad all the way around. Bad song, bad songwriting, bad idea, bad video.
What do you think about that, like, appeal, though? That's the thing that frustrates me, right? Because you think about, so you did with the Highwomen. You look back at Waylon Jennings and all these outlaw guys, and like their music wasn't about, screwing over marginalized. I mean, it was the opposite, right? It wasn't about they received popularity, got popularity in that outlaw country vein, not really doing conservative culture war shit, despite the fact that they were popular in small towns in red America, and now we have this, that is kind of the direction that the country world has gone. Like, what do you?
It's a white dude
to?
supporting his white agenda, and it sucks. He's not he's not thinking very hard,
Yeah, and do you feel that, like, in that New York article I referenced was kind of about how just Nashville has a little bit of this split now, right? Like there's maybe a little bit more of a monoculture in the past with country, and there are different kind of styles of country and swing and more rocky and more less. But like now that, like, do you feel that way, that like our partisan politics is like infecting the music scene, where like people are like are dividing themselves over that, or is that oversimplified?
I mean, I think that we've come to a point in the road where we're allowed to talk and say things where we weren't before. We're allowed to point things out and notice things. Where a lot of things, like, a lot of subjects and we just kind of like you weren't you're not allowed to say that or do that or whatever. And now everybody's like, well, fuck it. But
is that we being
politics
you talking
seems
about?
It's always been rough in country because you have to be like a shrouded in the flag guy, and if you are, then the old gatekeepers, like they help you sell your shit, don't spend money on you, whatever, go to the golf course, but because so many of us don't get any play on those radio, that small number of radio channels really does talk to a whole lot of people. But we don't get any play on those, so we can get on the internet and say what we want, and we still can sell music on iTunes and we'll make no money from it. But people can find things and decide things. I think when I think about the Dixie Chicks, I think about if a dude would have done that, they wouldn't have had that problem. But I also think the only radio stations like KLLL in Lubbock, all they would do was say, oh, we're burning their CDs. There was no hearing from the other side. And I think with technology, we're able to hear from the other sides rather than be kind of led to the mass culture of what masses are thinking, I guess. I don't know if that made any...
It does. Well, just trying to think about the Dixie Chicks. I was going to ask you about this, but to show the blind nature of all of that, right? And just how, like, just how knee-jerk the
Uh-huh.
culture is, right? The stuff that the Dixie Chicks were saying about the Iraq War back in the aughts, like it's kind of indistinguishable from what Trump's position is on that now, right? And it's
Right.
but but it's like there's been no self-reflection. It's not like the people that have like moved along with that or the gatekeepers, right? The big names, they haven't been like, oh wait, we should rehabilitate the Dixie Chicks. You don't see the Jason the that, and you do among certain quarters, but like the tight blue jeans
Uh-huh.
metrosexual top 40 country guy isn't, there's been no reflection about that, right? Like
No, not
it's
even
just
not.
whatever the culture war of the moment is all. It's
Yeah,
shallow.
and it's wild too that there's been, not really any kind of, I don't know. What sucks is that you get a bunch of ding dongs out there, and then they, you know, the Jason Aldean thing is I, mean, I could go on.
Go for it.
There's a bunch of a bunch of idiots just not thinking about anybody but themselves, and I don't know how to cure that. We could put something in the water.
You got anything in mind to put in the water? Like,
Probably will result in horrible diarrhea.
um, I want to talk to you about Nashville. The two kind of elements of it. You can take whichever side you want first. But I'm just curious about the scene. Like in my world, there's been this huge like conservative media world that like are adopting Nashville, right? Like they're moving to town. Like you have Ben Shapiro, a little guy in his cowboy hat, and Candace Owens and stuff like this. And so the Nashville culture, right? I think is evolving in certain ways, probably in ways that are appealing. But I think there's probably other things about living there. Obviously, you guys have chosen to live there. You love. There's some elements of it that you love, and I just kind of wonder how you think about balancing all that. I recently moved to New Orleans,
Uh-huh.
which is a city I love, and there's a lot of things I love about it. But I've been getting some shit from some of our listeners and some other progressive people. They're like, "Why would you move to the red state with these laws and this stuff happening?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I hear that, but like there are elements of it that I love. I don't want to seed that, right?" And so anyway, I was wondering how you kind of processed the.
There's been a lot of times when I think about moving because it's not a place that serves me in any way great as a woman, and or many of my friends, uh and it's oftentimes ugly, but you think about that and then you think, oh, but I have fans here that what they're gonna, you feel like you need to stay because there needs to be somebody that believes like you around to help you, you know fight another day, I guess, show up at the protests, help spread the word, and it seems a lot of times like you're not doing shit, but sometimes I get good messages and I'm like, well, I'll proceed another day warring for my bodily autonomy.
But I mean, what about just? And so there's the musical element is still there, but do you feel somehow separate from that? This is not my world, so I know nothing about like when people say Nashville is the country music center of the world. Like, I mean, you guys are playing at the Ryman and some of these classic venues, but then there's the other side. I don't like what is it? Does it feel like, oh, you can't? Is there you can't sit with us element of about living in Nashville between the two Nashvilles, or how does that work?
Well, we have some friends in the other scenes that we like really well, and we share the same beliefs, and as far as I know, the same politics, and those folks we're friendly with, and we talk to and hang out with on occasion. And then there's a whole other side that you know we don't participate in. We don't participate in any of the bullshit that doesn't. I'm not gonna go somewhere and be the only one like me in that disgusting room and listen to disgusting things all day, because I don't set myself up for daily beatings and you know what's that word, it would be like the torture, like you
Masochism.
Yeah, that,
You know,
there we go.
masochist.
I mean, maybe in private, I don't know.
This is a family podcast, Amanda.
Well,
Not really, actually.
but I am very interested in all of the parts and and the other side, how much they feed a certain group of people and what can be done to feed that group of
So
people
do you feel
different
comfortable?
information.
Like, I think about Nashville like as, the bachelorette gals with the penis hats and stuff going to the bars, and like there's somebody playing some country tunes. Like, would you feel? Does that appeal? Do you feel comfortable in that setting? Like, do you get a kick out of that, or is that just like, ugh, I stay out here in East Nashville
Well,
with my people,
I don't live in East Nashville,
or wherever. I'm
but
sorry, I don't want to I don't want to
like,
give I don't want to dox you. I was just stereotypically the East Nashville
no,
is
but
where.
like East, I moved here in 2004, and I was hung out in East Nashville. I lived in Tuscaloosa and Donaldson and Hermitage and all kinds of stuff. I live in the country now, but all that to say that I like going, and if I hear artists I like and the music's good, I like it. And if I wander into a place where they're playing Toby Keith, I'm walking the fuck out,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But most of those people on that side are scared of us, and I don't know why. Like, it's good to be. It's because we say what we think.
My final thing about Tennessee is just the politics of it. I mean, I think it was in the New York article where you were just like, maybe we just need anarchy. Like there was like some discussion of like, we should be organizing, and I just wonder how you process all of that. I mean, we had Gloria Johnson on the podcast. It looks like she's going to probably run against Marsha Blackburn, and she seems like an awesome woman. She's one of the Tennessee Three who spoke out, about gun control after the shooting. But I just kind of wonder what, how you think about all that. I mean, Tennessee's always been a conservative state, but it really does feel much more acute lately.
Yeah, it does.
In the way that they're, operationalizing that, maybe.
I used to think that, like, a couple of years ago, I used to think, oh, we can turn this around. We can we can have conversations with people. And lately I just get mad, and I do think, I have no idea, but you get to the point where you're almost like, yeah, I do want to get in a fist fight, but I can't because I'm a 41-year-old mom and I can't go to jail right now. But I get really angry, and right now I'm just angry.
Yeah. You did one thing. This is going to be the awkward part. I'm going to get to the fun part of this conversation after this one, okay? We're going to do the awkward one if that's okay.
Like, awkward is what I do daily.
So you have done some, in your art, some advocacy on political stuff, sometimes more explicit than others. One really explicit one was you and Jason did a song called The Problem, which is about a young couple kind of trying to decide what to do about abortion, about what to do with a pregnancy. And I just want to kind of just put out there right off that, like, I'd come from basically a pro-life background. That phrase makes me feel uncomfortable right now, because I'd always kind of self-identified as pro-life, and I'd always thought about it really from kind of like from the fetus's perspective, if that makes sense. Like, mostly from a fetus perspective. We have an adopted kid, and I've been in rooms with those women, with women that are kind of deciding to this, and you see you look at the image on there, and I've always been moved by that side of the argument. But I've been reflecting on that lately for two reasons. Like, one is the people that said that they were pro-life, that I thought were on my side, are like acting very unpro-life lately. Like, and a lot of these laws are very draconian, and like what I thought pro-life meant was not like 5-week ban and you have to carry your rapist child and like all of this extreme stuff. The other thing that I think is making me reflect all of this is that I'm like learning stuff about the mother's perspective that maybe as a privileged gay man who went to an all-boys high school, hadn't thought as much about the women's perspective as maybe I should have. And one of those things, like, I'm learning about things, and you tweeted about an ectopic pregnancy that you had. Am I even saying that word right?
Yeah, you are. We're coming up to my 2-year anniversary of almost dying, August 9th, 2021.
Yeah.
2 years.
So I want you to talk about that, but I just, in the context of, it's people like you talking about that did make a difference for me, at least, in starting to just reflect on how I should think about all of this, right? Because it was like, that was a word I'd never heard of, really, until the last 2 years.
Until it happened to me, I'm from Texas, and we weren't taught anything, when it turned out I had an ectopic pregnancy. I didn't know what the fuck that was. I'd never heard of it. And then I was like, how could I not know about my own damn body? But it's because people need to be in control of it, and you can't.
So talk about like what that is and like how that relates to the abortion debate, right? Because if you have a certain limit on weeks, or you're banning certain types of medicines, then what that means for women with an ectopic pregnancy.
Okay, let's start first with the fact that people a lot of times first think that your period is the end of your cycle. That's the beginning. Then you go into
See,
ovulation.
I'm starting to take notes now.
Yeah, okay. You're ovulating, and then, you can get pregnant during that time. Now, if you're ovulating 10 days after you're, had your period, you're not going to know that you're pregnant until you miss your next period, right? And sometimes that's 4 to 6 weeks later. If you take all of the timeline in,
Right.
could be past 6, could, whatever. Anyway, get down to it. You can also become pregnant in the wrong spot. That is like a place that's not your uterus. That would be like your fallopian tubes. I don't know. You all different kind of places that are not your uterus. And that's what happened to me. Became pregnant in a fallopian tube, and then you have a group of cells growing. You can't see. This is 8 or 9 weeks. This is when it happened, and so it exploded my fallopian tube. Then you're internally bleeding. Now I have a high pain tolerance, and I was feeling weird, very weird. And I played a show, and there's a physician at the show in Austin that there's COVID test during that time and whatever. He was already there for Sadler, making sure he didn't have COVID. Jason's guitar player. He said, "You really need to come in. You don't look okay." And I was like, "I just need some sleep." And he's like, "What's going on with you?" And I described, some, pain, discomfort, what I thought might be an ovarian cyst, because I've had those before, and they hurt when they, rupture. And he's like, "You really should come in." And I was like, "I'm going to sleep." And in the morning, I got up to do an interview, and my knees buckled, and Jason said, "We're going to the hospital." And I was like, "There are people that need to be going to, there's already flooded with COVID." He's like, "No, you're going in." So I go in, been internally bleeding this whole time, and go into surgery. And by the God's choice, I get to live. There are some people that think that you should implant this into your uterus.
Like via surgery.
Yes, that to me sounds like putting your penis inside of your balls. Like, how is that going to work? Also, how are you going to find it? So this is, 8 or 9 weeks. You can see by science and by the pictures that I made them take and give to me after that you can't. You have a string that's basically your fallopian tube, and so we're fighting over this. Okay, cool. Meanwhile, 10 days later, they put some bans into effect, so now 12 women a day die from it there, because they can't get the same care that I once got.
Texas.
Into some kind of legal thing, and not to mention if you they have a medicine that if you discover that's happened sooner, that you can take that'll abort it from your fallopian tube, or
Right.
get it out of there. Because what sucks is I'm a married person. He wouldn't have had a wife, or Mercy wouldn't have had a mother, or that really all sucks. But secondly, if I thought that I should be able to take that and get it out of my fallopian tube, it comes down to trust for me. Can you trust women to make decisions for their own selves? That's what it comes down to. If you can trust another person to, they're going to make the decision that's right for them. Might get closer to some semblance of freedom around here.
Boy, I know.
Do you trust
Sorry,
your
that's
own-
awkward. Right.
Own sister,
Yeah.
do you trust, anyone?
Yeah. I just think it sucks to say this, kind of like I'm saying this with a little bit of shame, right? It sucks to say this, like I have to hear that story in order to evolve an opinion about this, right? But thinking about it that way, I think it's important to tell that story because, for people who come at this with a genuine good, I think that there's a lot of bad faith actors on the pro-life side, as we've learned over the past fucking few years. We don't need to get into that. But for the people who come at this from a genuine place of I believe that's a life, right? And we should be protecting it, right? At the time of when to do that and and what kind of rules make sense, I would think that hopefully for some people that would be a compelling story, right? To be like, hey, this is an 8 or 9 week thing. You're pro-life. The life of the mother is at risk. This is past the time where I think Tennessee, right? Texas, Florida, a handful of states. This is past the period where a lot of states are having, allow you to do the procedure.
Right. And people, you can read articles and that are, like go search or whatever. But a lot of times when people mistake what they call the heartbeat, because it's really the heartbeat of the mother or the pulsing of blood. That hasn't been truly proven that. But if you look at the little pile of stuff they took out, there's no fetus in there.
Right. Okay. I'm going to move
and
off.
And then after that, people usually don't, I've seen people have to carry fetuses that will not survive. And then not only does that take a toll, I mean, this whole shit also takes a toll on your mental health going through all this.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know what's going on because you haven't been taught that. Then you have the recovery time, which is a bitch because you can't lift anything over 25 pounds. And I have a little girl that likes to be picked up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things happening. Then I'm out of work because this happened.
Yeah,
and
they like to be they like to be picked up. I wonder. Okay, thank you for sharing. Honestly, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's not necessarily easy and the most fun thing to talk about on a Monday morning. But
I'm happy to talk about it. I'm actually just want to celebrate the fact that I usually like turn into a big tear bag when that happens. But I think that thanks for asking and listening and getting better at it. Usually I have to go into vape mode.
Okay. Yeah, take another vape. All right, I want to get into music. I want to do one more about the daughter, because our kids are about the same age. Mercy's a little older than my daughter. Kind of tied into this Tennessee question, right? I mean, obviously you had this shooting recently in Tennessee, and I just wonder how you're kind of thinking about that. Like, you've got a daughter, you guys are on tour a lot, you've got a 7-year-old, and man, like being a parent who's there and also being in a state where all this crazy shit is happening, and how, kind of thinking about their life. And I'm looking for some wisdom from you on the parenting side of this. No pressure.
What I do is when there are questions, I answer the questions as far as the interest is as long as she's interested. So she asks a question, I answer it, and if she wants to go further, I stop where her interest stops.
Yeah.
And that seems to work for me right now. I don't have a child older than 7, so I'm still learning. But I do, back to the hot topic of I just want to swing back to this for a second.
Yeah, please.
Of the right to choose what you do with your body. You can look at nature and see that a bird has that freedom to kick an egg out of its nest when it deems it, unviable, or notices that, there's too many eggs, or whatever the reason. If a bird can do that, then why can't a person? Or any other, You have
a lot of songs about birds.
They co-parent. They do all kinds of cool shit. I can see a better world if I was only born a bird. New pronoun, bird.
Bird. Are you allowed to do that in Tennessee? Change your pronoun to bird now? I don't know that the popo might be at your door when you get out of
you
get out of this.
Change your pronouns whenever you want. You just people just don't understand how simple it is. They're just like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay, I want to get into the music stuff. This one is a little bit personal, and then I want to have kind of a little more fun. But so Jason wrote a song that probably anybody, if you've heard one Jason song, it's probably this one. It's called "Cover Me Up," about him, battling alcoholism and you helping to save him, really. But there's a lot of personal stuff that happens, some ugly stuff that happens. I walked down the aisle to that song, not because of the ugly stuff, but because of the line that "But home was a dream, one that I've never seen till you came along." I felt that resonated with mine.
Yes, that does resonate. Yes,
resonated with my husband, who had come in and say hello to you before we got on. So now you can see why I felt that way about him. But Morgan Wallen now plays this song. He's one of the most pop country guys out there. I was watching a video. I don't know, one day I was in my feelings, and I was on TikTok, and I was like, I want to watch some of you guys doing "Cover Me Up." I want to go see some live videos of it or something. And I searched for it, and I saw it because I don't fucking do pop country, so I didn't even know who Morgan Wallen was. And so I felt like they were all that, and it's like these huge stadiums, and people are screaming. That's got to be weird for you. To have all these strangers singing about this personal, deeply personal
story.
It's not my story if Jason's not singing it, but also it's not weird. I guess that other people cover songs. It's like been going on forever, and then we just redirect the money to a cause. And people like to get on our internets and say that we're making so much money. I don't know. Let's all go into AACP and shit.
Like all of your stuff is just so personal. And so about your marriage, your recent record, Take It Like a Man, has a song called Fault Line, about, the fault lines in your guys' marriage and kind of navigating all that. There's one line I wanted to ask you about because it's so brutal. Jason has a song called Flagship. I don't know, it might be The Flagship or Flagship. And you have a line in the song that says, "And the character you wrote yourself out to be, the flagship, all part of my fooling." I mean, that is like a pretty brutal line. And I've just been like, you guys, when you're on stage and because you play with each other and when you're seeing that, and there's got to be sometimes that you're like looking at each other and is that helpful? Is it bringing up bad feelings again? Are you getting mad at him on stage when he's singing Flagship and you're over there? I don't know. I've been dying to ask that.
The way I explain it is there's two different worlds of the music, and we both sit down and write songs as a way to explain the world better to ourselves. And in that time, I was writing that song and I needed a place to put my feelings and understand them. And I also wanted to write a song that you would listen to and maybe help him and I get to some kind of ground where we could talk, because we're existing, but we're not existing together. We're just opposite little music boxes twirling in different directions. And of course I wrote it and I sent it to him. And when we write songs, we know that it doesn't have to leave this room or whatever room we write it in. We know that if we need to write a song just to get it out, we can do that and nobody ever has to hear it. And I never think about what if somebody hears it, because I make those decisions much later, like when I get a big pile of them. And my big idea here was I'm going to explain my feelings to myself. We had a bad fight, and then I'm going to send it to him. Since I can't talk and he won't listen to me, I'll send it to him. And he didn't listen to it. And I was so mad. I was like, and I sent it to my friend Lawrence. I was like, listen to this song. And Lawrence was like, that is incredibly sad. We should make a record. I said, I'm not making a record. I'm just writing right now. And I don't know that song will ever hear or see the light of day. And later on in the discussions of the song, after deciding to record it, it came off the record. It was on, off, and on, off. It was off forever. And then I finally was like talking to Jason. I was like, the problem with putting songs like this on here is that I'm going to probably have to talk about them. And he said, you can decide not to. You don't have to. You can, and then if you want to, as you go, you can. And I was like, okay. I said, what about that flagship line? And he was like, if it's true, leave it. And I said, okay. But when we get on stage and do it, we've already had these conversations. Yeah.
So he's not giving you stink eye while he's singing Flagship? Like, now I want to go back and look at him closely while
No, but when we sometimes we laugh because it's different when you're in a good place, because you're like, oh, past self, you should have known better. But no, once you've been there, you've been there. But when we get on stage, that's different. We're playing the song, and sometimes on stage, those songs are difficult for me to sing. And what I do is I just try to imagine, hey, maybe somebody else feels this way and doesn't know how to say it. So you're helping somebody. You're not in that same spot right now. I have to talk myself up into it,
Yeah.
But if we're on stage together, it's like, of course he knows, he can tell if I might see, get funny, and then he'll do something stupid.
Make you giggle.
Yeah, I tell him you leave it all on stage, separate on stage.
Yeah. So when you're doing the writing to that, and so you're writing these songs, and so when you say you're sending them to him or sending them to your friend Lawrence or whoever, what does that mean? You're sending the lyrics or you have a tune, a simple version of the tune, or you have it done basically, and you're sending it to him? What?
Yeah,
at what point in the process?
I made a demo and sent it over there. A demo with just a basic mic, usually this Shure mic, something like this, and just real basic, whatever gets the job done, because usually by the end of songwriting, you just want to escape the whole scene you were in and just take a wash.
Your songwriting is so meticulous, and I got the biggest laugh, I don't know if you did, out of, there's a HBO doc recently about you guys, I guess Jason technically, but there's a Running with Our Eyes Closed. And I meant to rewatch it last night to figure out what the exact lyric was, but I was like, shut up. But there was a lyric that he said, and it was like the usage was quite right. He was saying a phrase that was not accurate, and it got a little snippy, right? Because you're like, well, that doesn't mean what you're saying that it means. And so I get that you want to, that it sounds nice or whatever, but like it's like this. And then I went back and looked at some of your lyrics, and you are. Like, I feel like I want you to be an editor for me a little bit. Like, do you feel like you could be an editor in another life? You are very meticulous in your songwriting, more so than I think maybe other writers.
Yeah,
is that fair?
That's fair. I am. But when we're dealing with feelings and they're so hard to explain already, it's let's get the words right as best we can. And if we're speaking from a character voice, then that's different. But Jason and I will share our songs and with each other in reunions, and that he waited till the last minute, so it had to be done there. But then on this next record, I stayed out of it for the most part, except for on 2, and but I just couldn't hold the line he wanted me to hold it, and that's fine. But I had to tell him. But anyway, so it's
why'd you have to tell him? Just that it was inaccurate, or that it was. Like he had a plural wrong, or what?
No,
you had the word meaning right?
It was bigger than that. It was avoiding the topic, and he says part of that he loves about me because I'm not scared of him, and I'm only trying to serve the art. I'm not trying to gain anything in his songwriting. I don't want, you know what I mean? I'm just we do that for each other, removing ourselves from it. He can be more competitive than me and likes being competitive, so I try to be sometimes, but not. Anyway, so it's about serving the art, and if you say you are serving the art, then you should, do it right. And if you decided that you wanted me to help say something sometimes, then I should, because I said I would, and I do what I say I'm gonna do, and all that. But yeah,
and you've done you took a master's in writing or something, right? Like, I mean, you've really focused on making an MFA from Sewanee,
University of the South.
Yeah. I know about what it is.
I used to be military school or something.
Well, and maybe that's why you're militaristic in the ways that the verses come out.
I'm free in my own space. It's the outside world I don't get to be, so I exercise it as if I'm a man running around my house.
Okay, we're running out of time. I've got a few fun rapid fire ones for you in the end, but I have to ask you. You just did a record with Bobbie Nelson, Willie Nelson's sister. And I don't really have a question except for that's got to be really cool. And tell us about it.
I just wanted to celebrate her. She passed away, but our original plan was to make a record because started out we really had a good time together, and we wanted to go shopping, and we wanted to play shows together, these songs that we grew up playing and that we loved, and turned out to that for touring we'd need to have a record, and then we made a record and have a beautiful collection of songs and celebrate the music. And then she passed away, and it's now become celebration of, I was already celebrating her as a sideman and mother and woman, because her life was beautiful but harrowing. And so we celebrate this woman who did got her kids taken away for playing in bars, got them back, who lost 2 sons within 6 months of each other, and still found joy in music and maintained a place for music in her life. And it's people like her that have done the work before that afford us the space that we have now, no matter how small that space feels sometimes.
Is there a particular track from the record that resonated from you? I would like to just play a little bit for podcast listeners.
I mean, Summertime gets me just in the fact that they, they were orphaned, and all the stuff that happened with her family and her kids and everything, and this kind of Summertime and the Living's Easy. This kind of, it can be seen as like an idyllic, romanticized version of Summertime, and your mother and dad, being there for you. But it, to me, in her spin, it's darker. It kind of shades and paints differently, and I think that we both think it's a beautiful song. But I think it says more and is more multi-layered as far as her story, and many stories are.
Speaking of multi-layered, I lied. I have one more question. The headline track of your last record, "Take It Like a Man," I feel like that is also like that, right? It has one kind of meaning at face value, but I don't think that's one you mean. So just maybe talk about that a little bit.
The title is what it is. It's about taking it like a man. It's about really what it's about is there's actually more strength in being vulnerable, and there's when you make choices in your life with love or with anything, there's going to be consequences, and you can take it like a man or not.
A lot
Either
of
way,
young men, a lot of young men aren't getting that message that being a man is being vulnerable. I think a lot of young men are learning the wrong message, and from the tight blue jeans and pickup truck trips, maybe.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can have the "Take It Like a Man" message start to resonate with a few more folks. Okay, I have rapid fire. It's just going to be fun. Are you ready? We're closing it out.
I love rapid fire.
All right, my favorite lyric from this record, just because. Maybe I'm sorry. It was from the previous record. To the Sunset, just because it's so brutal and hilarious. Is about an ex of yours, I think it was. "I'm rock and roll and you're golf." So I'm looking from you for either a favorite lyric of your own that you want to share, or the just a little riff on why you hate what golf is the is the negative side of that of that binary.
Golf is just full of people that are nothing, that I have nothing in common with you in general. I mean, Willie Nelson does play some golf. I don't know that he actually plays golf, but probably just smokes weed. My favorite, I used to be uncomfortable about trying to identify things that I liked about my own work, but I'm all right with it. I'm kind of happy with the line. I need more words for blue, because it's so true. There's not enough words for it. I like that line. And then, I'm okay with some of my lines.
I'm glad you're getting comfortable, all this success.
It just
you
feels
should finally
good.
be listening. It does feel a little weird. Okay, I saw you at Red Rocks when you opened for Jason. I'm from Denver, so I grew up, and so that was very memorable. My favorite venue. But do you have a favorite venue? A favorite spot of, God, this was so awesome to do this. Something that felt especially magic.
After COVID and after I almost died, I am grateful to be anywhere. It could be just in the local restaurant, singing karaoke. I'm happy about all that. And that's not a joke. That's serious. I'm grateful. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but Red Rocks is amazing. I'm a big fan of indoor shows, though.
Same.
I like the outdoor ones. They're great, but I like indoor. I like the Ryman's great. I like the there's a place in Brooklyn, the King's Theater. I like that place a lot. There's a lot of them. I tend to like the indoor ones because I feel like you can control the environment more.
Your husband's Twitter habit, in one sentence or less.
Jokes.
Yeah.
His Twitter habit is jokes.
Yeah.
I got off Twitter, but he's really good at it. It's like I paint for fun. He does Twitter for fun.
Look at it. It's good. Sorry, I see. This is one thing that resonates with me most of him. I'm addicted to it. He can't help himself. How I feel about myself, and it's not. I don't think that's healthy, actually. But I can't help myself. He'll be out there. He was out there dunking on Paul's chief of staff this week, and I'm like, "What are you doing, man? Like,
I get on there and look at it.
Yeah, why are you doing that?" Okay.
When he's on the road like he is now, he has more time for it because much of the day is spent waiting, either riding on the bus or waiting in line or in a plane or something. So he has. When he's at home, you'll see like a decline of Twitter like tweets. Yeah, so that's what he's doing.
Parenting.
Yeah,
you know, I start to feel really bad when I'm like playing Candyland with Luce, and then I'm also sending tweets. I'm like, I need to be a little more present for this moment. Okay, I want you to close with this. You're so beautiful just talking about your mother. So my final rapid fire question for you is just a piece of advice from your mother and her life that you carry with you. Or a lesson, maybe
it's
not.
It's better to be green and growing than ripe and rotten.
Are we still green and growing, or are we starting to ripen?
If you are green and growing, you're ripe and rotten. Yes, I think it's the purpose of life. I mean, we all came from these little seeds, and we grow much like a flower, and then we start to decline into our wilt.
I'm worried that I'm ripening, but I don't know.
You're worried that what?
I'm ripening and ripening, but we'll see.
That's good.
I think I'm on the cusp.
That's part of it. You know, who knows? CRISPR might take a hold sooner than we think.
Amanda Shires, this has just been a delight. Thank you so much for doing this. Your tour, I'll give out all the dates to listeners, so if they're around, they can come see you. I'd recommend it highly. I'll see you the next time this is your tour to New Orleans.